Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our Fire Relief Fundraiser. We've got 7 great companies that are going to present today and also help out some of the communities that have been affected this summer by terrible wildfires. The first is going to be an abbreviated presentation, so 15 minutes. We have American Eagle Gold. It's a new story to me. I hadn't heard of it before Anthony kindly reached out last week and introduced himself and the company. So really exciting. And Anthony Moreau, CEO, will be presenting along with Charlie Grieg, who I'm excited to meet because he is a well-renowned technical advisor to a number of companies, including American Eagle Gold. So enough of me talking. I'll hand the mic over to Tony and Charlie, who's going to run us through the story. Take it away, guys. And thanks for participating. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deborah. First of all, thank you for throwing this event. It's great to give back to the people that are suffering from the fires. And thanks for fitting us in. Like Deborah said, I'm going to be doing a really condensed presentation here. I'm in the mindset. There's really few important things for you to know. Our symbol's AE. Our company's American Eagle Gold. We look for copper and gold in BC, and we got a lot of catalysts coming up. We're really excited. Our big problem isn't our project or our team or our location or our results. It's just, it's a crappy market and it's tough for people to even know who you are. So now that you know who we are, look at our presentation and watch for the great news that's going to come out. But I'll talk really quickly about everything that's coming up. And again, I'm not doing a presentation. I'm just going to talk. I think if you have a presentation up, you're looking, not listening. I got some important things to say and not a lot of time to do it. And if you can't sell your company in a minute, what are you doing anyway as a CEO? So I have 10 minutes, which gives me a big advantage. So, first of all, American Eagle Gold, we're located near Smithers, BC. That's in interior BC. People that don't know Smithers, just to give you an idea, it's an hour and 20-minute flight from Vancouver. It's interior BC. It's a great town, about 11,000 people. Amazing skiing, amazing restaurants, amazing bars. It's a place you want to be. Now, if you want to mine, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, is the geography. A mine, a lot of things help out on your OPEX and your CAPEX if you're able to access it easily. Again, I was talking about Smithers. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to get from the hotel to the mine site. So that's a huge advantage. Access to labor, access to power, access to camp, access to critical spares. It really saves you a lot when you eventually make that building decision and mining decision. So my chairman came to my office and he said, Tony, what are we doing here? There's a lot of companies out there just releasing pictures and XRF. And we did some pictures earlier and our stock went up, but we don't want to be a fly-by-night company and we don't think we have a fly-by-night asset. So how do we get away from being, a Mickey Mouse shop and actually being real? And what I want to position myself as is the blue chip of exploration companies. And how do we do this? And we thought about it. And how we do this is what we actually believe we are. We want to position ourselves to convince investors that we will eventually be a mine someday. So that's what I'm going to talk about during the next 8 minutes. What are the keys to becoming a mine? And if you become a mine, then you eventually get to one of 2 scenarios, which is an exit strategy for, investors. You eventually get to an area where you build a mine and you become a bigger company, you grow that way. And the other area is you create a liquidity event. You convince another company that you can become a mine and they take you out. And I worked for a mining company whose job was to build mines for 10 years. It was very difficult for them to do it. I think there's probably 4 or 5 companies in the world, one of which is our partner Teck, who can build a mine successfully. And I think the best route is actually the exploration route that Charlie did at GT Gold. You get it, you de-risk your exploration property and you get yourself to a liquidity event. Now, how do you convince a big company that you can eventually become a mine? Well, there's a lot of things, and I'm going to say them in the best order that I can. The most important thing is scale. You have to be big. If companies want to take you over, they want something that can last for years and years. There's a lot of cyclical curves. The prices of gold and copper, they go up and down. So these companies want to make sure that they survive when copper and gold are down, and they really generate the cash when the prices go up. And the only way you can do that is by being really big and having a long life of mine. NAC, where our project is, we have mineralization everywhere. We have a huge footprint, and we're continuing to expand. As Charlie always says, you can only be lucky so much. In the 14 drill holes that we've drilled so far, we've hit mineralization in every single one. You can't say that about many properties in the world, and we're continuing to hit. We drilled along a fence last year. It was 2D. This year, we added third dimension. And we're constantly learning about the geometry, the geology. And by doing that, we're putting our drill holes in better and better locations so we get better results, so we can send the stock higher. And we need our stock higher because that's our equity to grow and continue to expand. Now, the next big important thing is near surface. NAC is near surface. We've drilled 14 drill holes. We've seen mineralization from surface at each of the drill holes, albeit of different grades. But that's really key. Again, if a company's going to take you over, they want to turn it into a mine, they need a starter pit, and they need to pay back their capital as soon as possible. And the key there is having drill holes that are close to surface with great mineralization. Our first hole last year, NAC 2201, it drilled about 130 meters of over 1% copper equivalent from surface. We've had many other similar holes to it, but that just gives you an example. The next thing, when companies take you over, they don't just want a big life of mine. They want blue sky. They want possibility to expand. I mentioned earlier with their scale, everywhere that we've drilled, we've seen expansion. We've seen mineralization. We have a big footprint. And every time we step out, we keep on seeing mineralization. And that's an example with hole 2309. It's 750 meters away from our closest drill hole last year. And we saw some smoke. We saw some signs that we have mineralization there, which significantly expands our footprint. And again, we're just learning the geometry. We're just learning the geology. And there's a lot of blue sky and there's a lot of potential. I already mentioned the next thing. I talked about Smithers. Again, one of your most important things is your geography. Are you close to surface? Are you in the hills? Do you need helicopter support? Are you close to town where you can access labor? For NAC, it's yes, we're close to a town of Smithers. We're very close to surface. You do not have to fly in. You can drive right to our site. You don't need helicopter support. One of our holes we had to fly a helicopter to because there wasn't a cut block. That almost doubles your price to explore. So we really do have that cost advantage to lower our price to explore. And guess what? If you really want long-term results, long-term returns to actually sell a company someday, you can't blow up your cap structure and you need to drill as many holes as possible, as cheap as you can. And reducing the amount that it costs you to drill really helps because it's all about putting as many holes into the ground as possible to get that big billion-dollar drill hole, which we believe that we can eventually get. The other thing is grade. I talked about you wanted to pay back your project. Grade's very important to it. You want it near surface, but you also want high grade. At NAC, guess what? We had high grade at surface. We had high grade at medium depth, and we started to see really high grades at depth. We have bornite everywhere. We have chalcocite everywhere. We have chalcopyrite everywhere. And if you guys are asking what chalcopyrite, chalcocite, and bornite are, there's different materials. So chalcopyrite holds approximately 1/3 copper. Bornite holds approximately 2/3 copper, and chalcocite holds apparently 80% copper. So you want that because it gives you a better payback. And the mills, people that process your material in the end, that really helps out. They want to blend that with lower grade material they probably get from other mines. The other thing, you want a partner. So, I've been talking about we want a liquidity event someday, but who's going to do it? And investors want a light at the end of the tunnel. Who's that company? Well, you saw we just did 2 financings with, I believe, the best base metal company in the world. They're Canadian. They're great folks. We really got to know them. They're Tech Resources. So they now own 20% of our company. They have a foothold in there. And they invested us not because they decided to stick a pin on the tail of a donkey. They decided that we have a great asset. They contacted us last November when we had a first drill hole. They spent over 6 months looking at our project in the data room. They went to site. They spoke to the community. And I believe they invested us because they really do believe that we can become a mine someday. And we have that partner. And why else that partner is important? Because they gave us money and it reduced our dilution. We did it at a premium and we don't have shares floating all around. This is a really bad market. So the less amount of free shares you have out there, warrants outstanding, reduced stock price, the less overhang there is. So we issued 20% of our company to Tech, but that's essentially not free trading. So that's really good for investors. And we do look after our capital side. Again, I'm just talking again, funding is very important. We have funding. So this year we're fully funded for expanded drill program. We're funded next year for a full program. I believe retail investors, they're not savvy at all on the geology side, very few of them. And there's a reason for that. I'm not either. I'm not a geologist. I didn't spend 8 years in school. They're very savvy on the retail side, on the capital market side. And you can see when funding's coming up. So I want to make sure in the next 18 months, people aren't going to start selling our stock because they think we're going to do a private placement, which ideally we're not going to do unless it's on really good terms. And again, all about my company, what's coming up. We have tons of catalysts. I can show pictures. I can show XRFs. The only thing that's true in the end is the truth machine, and it's the assays. That's where the rubber hits the road, and that's really actually shows you if you have something. So assays are coming out. Just watch them. I want you guys to know about our company. I want you to follow us. There's always a diamond in the rough out there somewhere. We have a lot of catalysts coming out between now and the end of November. We just released one of our first 11 drill holes, so there's a lot of news to come. So again, watch American Eagle, symbols AE. We're trading on the TSX Venture. We're very excited. Now, last but not least, I haven't mentioned this guy. He's a legend. His name's Charlie Gregg. We have a great property. We have a great location, but you need a great guy to help you find that deposit. And the guy I want is the guy that made the most recent large discovery, that created a liquidity event in the mine closest to our property. And who is that? It's Charlie Gregg, part of GT Gold, VPX, sold it to Newmont 2021 for $400 million. So Charlie, maybe you take it away for about a minute or two and just talk about NAC and why you think it can possibly be a mine someday, and just tell investors why you believe in it. When Charlie came on to this company first, he wasn't really involved, and he started to see our drill holes. I talk to Charlie every day now, so I know he believes in it. But Charlie, maybe you can give a quick little geology sense of why you love NAC and why there's a big future in hold for it.
Oh, thanks, Tony. Wow. I mean, you may have not spent 8 years in school, but you're a pretty quick study. And I think you just about covered every possible thing. I think one thing you missed out was, Charlie kind of comes with a team of younger geos. And the one leading the charge on that project is a guy named Neil Prowse, along with a couple of helper geos, David Hogue. And they have done a fantastic job, and they deserve a lot of the credit. And part of the reason I didn't jump in too hard too soon is because I know I have some pretty capable young geos, and they need to be given a little rope. The other thing Tony mentioned was about the smoke. So just getting back to the fires thing, our project is just north of Babine Lake in the Lake Babine Nation traditional territory. So they've been great partners. And, we've always been cognizant of this fire season because there's been a fire burning there all summer, quite close to our camp, quite close to the property. And we've been on, evacuation alert even in the camp. So, this is actually quite close. This cause is quite close to our heart. And we're very cognizant of what it means to, all the parts of the forested area. The forest industry is really important to that area, and it's important to us to keep an eye on that. So Tony mentioned smoke. We've been seeing it all summer. It's still smoke in there. I was just up in the camp, and the fire was moving towards the camp then. I think now the nights are a little longer and a little cooler, so I think we're probably out of the woods, so to speak, that way. But in terms of the deposit itself, Tony did actually cover pretty much everything. I thought he was going to miss the part about grade. And, one of the points I think I'd like to make is that we actually are hitting some pretty high grade for porphyry copper gold system. And I think we still have the chance as we're drilling, and maybe it's not quite as high grade as the saddle thing in GT Gold in parts, but we're hitting stuff that is pretty comparable. And I think we're going to be able to get into some more. And that allows you some more optionality if you want, in terms of how you might approach the mining. You could do some bulk underground mining if you get enough of the higher grade material. And I think we're going to see that at NAC. We've got hints of it so far. So I think that's a really important thing. But again, the important thing is size. This thing is looking like it's large. It goes deep. It goes a long ways along trend to the north, as we demonstrated last year, where we have continuous mineralization. And now we're drilling it out so that it has some more width, and the tons will add up that way, especially if we just keep hitting like we have been. So I think, like I said, Tony covered it all. A great project, great deposit, hopefully shaping up. We don't call it a deposit until we do a resource estimate, but I think we'll get there eventually. And I'm really, really excited about working with American Eagle. Thank you very much.
Sounds great. And I think, Tony, you mentioned that you put out one drill hole. You have 10 pending.
Just one drill hole so far. 700. Well, this year we put 7 out last year, but the drill hole is 776 meters of 0.5% copper equivalent. Remember, we're in Canada. Most of the mines, porphyry mines, they're mining less of a grade than that. Belgranile, Prosperity's deposit, Morrison. Highland Valley Gold, Highland Valley Copper. They're all mining between 0.3 and 0.4% copper equivalent. So what we drill in that drill hole is a higher grade, and I think there's a lot more to come. And viable to be a mine, especially these current copper and gold prices.
Sounds like you'll have an easy fall then for investors.
Sure will.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time and thanks for supporting our fundraiser. Really appreciate it. And nice to meet you both.
Thanks for raising the awareness.
Deborah.
Thanks for paying us in. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.